This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Hey you, my name is TomSka Ridgewell, and they just keep turning memes into movies. Zhdun, Slender Man, this man. Is there no corner of the internet safe from the grubby little hands of filmmakers? Yes. For now. Welcome to the third and hopefully final part of my series to find, watch, review, and rank every single movie adapted from a meme. Movies that exist because someone saw something funny on the internet and said, yeah, I could make 90 minutes of slop out of this, and I wish they hadn't, but here we are. If you haven't seen the first two parts of this series yet, that's rude, but just to recap, so far we have watched Afro Ninja Destiny, The Charlie Challenge, Dear David, Dog Poop Girl, Badass, Fred the Movie, Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever, How the Hamsters Saved Winter, The Yummy Gummy Search for Santa, I Want to Be Ninja, Meme Lover, Karen, Amityville Karen, A Christmas Karen, Sneezing Baby Panda, Next Gen, and Safety Not Guaranteed. As you can see, I'm not looking at documentaries about memes, viral news stories, or shorts that were adapted into movies, YouTuber movies, except for Fred, of course, and movies that are simply popular in meme culture or have resulted in a lot of memes. Just narrative-led movies existed because someone adapted something from the internet. It's a simple category, I feel, but I keep having to restate it. So, without further ado, let's get to watching 10 more movies adapted from memes. And I'm recording this before releasing part 2, so if I just had to redub that previous bit, it means you bastards have made me aware of even more movies. Please stop. Oh, pass, Tom. You fool. You naive, hairless fool. We will never be done. We are never getting out of here. I am never getting out of here!
Slender people get through gaps.
In June of 2009, a user on the Something Awful forums called Gero Gary Gay 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 invited everyone to Photoshop a shitload of paranormal images because, hey, wouldn't it be cool if one of them wound up in a book or a documentary one day? Wouldn't that be cool? A shitload of images were indeed created, some better, some not so better. But it would be 2 days after the creation of the post that user Victor Surge, real name Eric Knudsen, would post these images with a little bit of lore sprinkled on top, introducing the world to Slender Man. Over the coming days, Eric would follow up with multiple posts about old Slendy, including manipulated photos, scans, children's drawings, and of course, heaps of lore. Over time, the thread became more and more focused on Slender Man, and within a week, people were posting their own Slender Man images. You know I love me a bit of communal collaboration, 8 out of 10 meme. At that same time, filmmaker Troy Wagner would jump into the thread to add his own bit of Slender lore, claiming that his old school friend Alex had abandoned a student film and left behind all of the footage. The name of that film was Marble Hornets. And so, only 10 days after Slender Man was first conceptualized, Troy, along with Joseph Delage and Tim Sutton, would begin releasing Marble Hornets, a found footage horror series that would become a smash hit, generating more than 100 million views from its 5-year run. Getting in at the ground floor, Marble Hornets would be incredibly influential in shaping the general mythos around Slender Man, introducing his unofficial logo, the idea of him being able to possess people, and the concept of slender sickness. Also, as an aside, I love that the Slender Man wiki has to temporarily break character on the slender sickness page to say, oh my god, if you're actually experiencing any of these symptoms, please stop DMing us about it and call a fucking hospital. What is wrong with you? Oh god, just the idea of someone taking the Slender Man lore seriously is so silly. Like, who would even do that? God, I hope I'm not setting up something awful for later. Anyway, with Marble Hornets ending in 2014, a movie adaptation was greenlit, set to be written and directed by a completely different team with little to no involvement from the original creators. Always a good sign. Sure enough, the following year, Always Watching, a Marble Hornets story was released. The movie starts with, wait, is that me? How did I get there? The movie revolves around our 3 main characters, cameraman Milo, reporter Sarah, and producer Charlie. They are a small, local news team tasked with uncovering the scoop behind a family that's gone missing, and while doing so, they uncover a box of tapes. They find some footage, you might say. Because it's a found footage movie. I'm smart. The tapes tell the story of the family patriarch who is stalked and driven to madness by Slender Man, and now Milo and the gang are set to endure the same fate. Also, Milo has a dog. So let me just quickly doesthedogdie.com. How could you, Slender Man? As promised, Slender Man stalks the group and drives them all a little bit loopy. We get some cool shots of the guy and some not very cool shots of the guy. Seriously, how are you going to have Doug Jones and then just have him stand at a distance in a morph suit, not even wiggling his freaky little fingers? Total waste of Mr. J. The characters, while flawed, generally make good and logical decisions, which is kind of refreshing given that most horror movies leave me wondering why the characters don't just stop what they're doing and leave a spooky situation. Like, if I'm expected to root for you, I need to see you putting in any effort to survive. Honestly, as a mild fan of found footage horror movies, I thought it was pretty solid. Slender Man was handled well and it ultimately stuck the landing. 7 out of 10. Which is why I was surprised to see that it was critically panned. You see, it turns out that the film's biggest mistake was also supposed to be its main selling point, latching onto the name and popularity of Marble Hornets, but the movie had nothing to do with the show, deviated from the series' established lore, and succeeded only in pissing off the people who knew what Marble Hornets was and alienating anyone who didn't. For this reason, it gets a 5 out of 10 for incorporation. Still, B tier. You know, I like Slender Man, so it's honestly a shame that they never made any more movies about him. Oh wait! But first, a word from our sponsor. In this modern world, it seems like you can't get through a single podcast, article, or YouTube video without someone telling you to get their VPN. So why, with all these options, should you get Surfshark VPN? It's simple. They're paying me, and I really like money. With just one account, you can install and use Surfshark across unlimited devices simultaneously. Can other VPNs do that? I don't know. They haven't paid me to memorize their talking points, but Surfshark has. Wow. Surfshark has over 4,500 servers over more than 140 locations. Is that a lot? Maybe. But what matters is that they paid me to tell you about it, and so I did. Thank you, Surfshark. Surfshark protects your data, keeps you anonymous, and allows you to access content that's not available in your country. Other VPNs? They don't even give me money, so fuck them. Fuck you. Now, since I'm being paid, how do you know I'm not just lying? Because I have integrity? No. Because if I were lying, the Advertising Standards Authority would have shut me down already. And I would know. They've already done it 3 times. Mostly for violence. I'm funny. So go to surfshark.com/TomSka friends or use code TomSka friends at checkout to get an extra 4 months on your Surfshark subscription. Other people's codes will do exactly the same thing, but I don't get paid when you use those, so please don't. Thank you. Surfshark VPN. They pay me. You're welcome.
Slender Man, look sweet in fucking slacks.
Look, if you were online in the early 2010s, Slender Man was pretty hard to miss. Creepypastas, games, fan films, attempted murder, a Supernatural cameo. Wait, he was in Supernatural?
What the hell's a thin man? How can people all over the world see the same joke?
In 2014, 3 12-year-old girls walked into a Wisconsin wood and only 2 walked back out, after stabbing the other one 19 times. The reason for this? Allegedly, to appease the Slender Man.
Once it started, it was just stabby, stab, stab in these woods.
I'm not going to get into it more than that because this isn't a true crime channel, but suffice to say, it caused a bit of a moral panic around old Slendy. Also, it really wouldn't surprise me if this is the reason that Slender Man is never mentioned by name in Always Watching. A few years after the attempted murder, the perpetrators would face trial as adults, something that was heavily covered on the news. And it was right around this time that Screen Gems went, okay, hear me out. Long story short, the moral panic surrounding Slender Man had not sufficiently subsided, and after a significant amount of backlash from outraged parents and the like, Screen Gems panicked and re-edited the movie to remove any potentially offending scenes. The resulting movie? Bad. The film revolves around 3 young girls who wander into the woods to perform a ritual to appease the Slender Man, and saying it out loud, yeah, not a great idea, guys. You kind of walked right into that one. To summarize, girls discover Slender Man creepypasta on the internet, they invoke him, he stalks them, they pretty much all wind up dead, and one of them gets turned into a tree. I guess that's a thing he does. A versatile guy. Much like Amityville Karen, we don't get to see much of the good stuff because any remotely gory scene either cuts off early or is removed entirely from the film because of the aforementioned backlash, meaning plot points and sometimes entire characters just disappear from the movie. It's good stuff. Watchable. At one point, they go to a hospital, something you should definitely do when you have slender sickness, and they think they see Slender Man, but it's actually just a tall man. Which also happens in Always Watching. Apparently, we just love this trope in Slender Man movies. Ultimately, the movie just kinda sucks. The teens don't talk like people.
The dude bros in the natural habitat.
It seems to have a pretty tenuous grasp on how technology gets used. And the most fear the movie ever elicited from me was when there was a sound of an owl that sounded a little too similar to the sound of the alarm on my phone. There is a degree of appreciation for the source material that I do at least like. They show Eric Knudson's original image, and one of the characters shares his last name. That's kind of neat. Still, 3 out of 10 movie, 3 out of 10 incorporation, D tier. Now, let's move on from Slender Man, shall we?
Slender ladies can kick you in.
No, I said let's move on from Slender Man.
Slender people.
No! I said no! Stop! Jesus Christ, why are there so many shitty Slender Man movies? This is like 10 movies. Someone else can make a video going through all of these because I have to do something else with my life.
Have you ever had a dream that you had?
In 2008, a website appeared online called This Man, asking the question, ever dreamed this man? You see, a couple years earlier, in 2006, a patient of a New York psychiatrist sketched this wide-mouthed, thick-eyebrowed man who'd been appearing in her dreams. And pretty quickly, this psychiatrist would discover that more and more of their patients had been dreaming of him too. Before long, they'd uncover that people all over the world were also dreaming of this man, prompting the creation of this website to further understand what was happening. The search for the truth rippled through the world, tantalizing and terrifying all those who came across it. Somehow, people all over the world were dreaming of the same man, this familiar but unsettling face that had oozed straight out of the uncanny valley and into our subconsciouses. But who was he? A dream visitor? God? Famed musical theater composer Andrew Lloyd Webber? Yeah, no, none of that was real. There was no psychiatrist, and nobody had been appearing in anybody's dreams. The whole This Man thing was a guerrilla marketing stunt created by sociologist Andrea Nutella with one simple goal: to prove that they could make something go insanely viral. And, yeah, mission accomplished. But who was this man? This mysterious, ominous, he's from a Flash game. You just made in a Flash game. Ultimate Flash Face, created by Max Yashenko in 2002 to create composite images of people's faces, like a police sketch or meme maker. Look, here's me and Eddie. God, we're handsome. This man is a 6 out of 10 from me. I do like a creepypasta, especially one that breaks containment into the real world, but ultimately he's just a little one note for me. There's not really much you can do with him. Unless, of course, you're Japanese. The Japanese love this man. He's in mangas, plural. He has his own manga. He appears in music videos, and he's the subject of not 1, but 2 movies. In 2017, the spring special of Tales of the Unusual, essentially Japan's version of The Twilight Zone, featured 4 spooky shorts, one of them being Dream Man. Now, this isn't technically a movie, but neither was How the Hamsters Saved Winter or Meme Lover, so it's still my video, and I'm still gonna do what I want. The short starts with the series host recounting the story of this man, 2006, New York psychiatrist, appearing in dreams, yada yada yada, before introducing us to the episode's protagonist, Midori, a bored schoolgirl learning about dreams and nightmares. And also, Hitler's there. Japan, we talked about this. Feeling inspired after her class about the power of dreams, Midori creates this man in a knockoff version of Ultimate Flashface and tweets out how he's been appearing in her dreams, essentially creating the meme as we know it. The next morning, however, everyone is talking about this man, or Dream Man, and how after appearing in their dreams, they woke up with a red bracelet on their wrist. This confuses Midori, who, as we saw, made that shit up for the lulz. But look, there he is, appearing in people's dreams. Now, some people claim that this head is CGI, but I think it's predominantly an animatronic, and frankly, I love it. This man triggers something of a global panic, though, and people begin killing each other, and also themselves. Sure, why not? The world descends into an apocalyptic chaos with this man all over the place, and Midori, convinced that she's stuck in a bad dream, attempts to wake herself up the Inception way and throws herself off a building. Unfortunately, she is not dreaming. Fucking dumbass. Now injured like a cartoon character, Midori confronts this man who confesses that she essentially manifested him into reality and then waddles away to sow more chaos and assumedly end the world. I think. This was not available subbed or dubbed anywhere, so I had to enlist the help of a Japanese fella to help me figure this one out. Thanks, Takara. You're the best. The short isn't good, a 3 out of 10, but I love how fully they incorporate the meme, even acknowledging the hoax element of it down to the creation of the face itself. So it gets a juicy 8 out of 10 for incorporation. C tier. Still somehow infatuated with this man and his uncomfortably wide smile, almost a decade later, the great nation of Japan would decide to haul him and his thick, luscious eyebrows out once again, this time for a feature-length film titled This Man, which is also not available dubbed or subbed anywhere. Takara, help! The movie starts by showing us a woman in a yellow flowery dress running from an unseen menace before having her throat slit. This is before introducing us to our protagonist, Hannah, who is wearing a yellow flowery dress that is similar enough that I thought they were the same character for an embarrassingly long period of time. Through a pair of detectives, we learn that the woman at the start of the movie had been dreaming of this man, something that has been happening to more and more people right before they mysteriously die. Ooh. I wrote ooh in the script, and I just figured I'd know how to say it when it came to recording, but it didn't work out that way. Now, I'll be honest, I don't like that they made him look like this. I don't like it at all. Where is his warm, wide smile? His kind eyes? He's not this man. That's just that fella. I don't like him. Also, one of the detectives explains Kiki and Booba to the other one. Not relevant to the review, just thought it was kind of fun. More and more people start dreaming of that fella, and shit gets weird. Sometimes they abruptly choke to death. Sometimes they commit suicide. Sometimes they become possessed and kill other people. There is very little consistency here. I think we learned that this man is a Freddy Krueger-style vengeful spirit from the past, but it's super not clear. He does do this, though. So that's cool. Please stop. Hannah begins seeing that fella in her dreams, and fearing for her life, goes to see a shaman who simply refuses to shut the fuck up. Seriously, this scene goes on for such a long time. But don't worry, because he performs a ritual, which also goes on for a really long time and features very inappropriate music. It's not like sexy, it's just the vibes are off. But anyway, the problem is solved, the curse is gone, everything's fine, until Hannah's daughter dies the very next day. We then see every single other character in this movie die in rapid succession. So what does Hannah decide to do? The same thing. She goes to see the shaman, and they do another ritual, but this time, even harder. And it works, and then the movie just ends. Just that's it. It fucking sucks. Now, if I've made it seem like anything interesting happens in this movie, that is only because I have run you through the only things that happen in this movie while glossing over the incessant amount of yapping. It is so boring, so long, and so deeply narratively unsatisfying. To summarize, this man sucks, and in the words of our Japanese correspondent, was no doubt one of the worst movies I've ever seen that makes less sense every time I watch it. 2 out of 10 movie, 3 out of 10 incorporation, F tier.
So
I've had enough of this dude. In 2010, Sam Raimi's Ghost House Pictures would bring on horror filmmaker Brian Bertino to write and direct an adaptation of the This Man meme. The movie would focus on an ordinary guy who discovers that people he has never met are seeing him in their dreams. Now he must find out why he is the source of nightmares for strangers all over the world. The movie never happened. Anyway, 13 years later, Dream Scenario would be released. A movie about an ordinary guy who discovers that people he has never met are seeing him in their dreams. Now, he must find out why he has become the source of nightmares for people all over the world. Hey, wait a minute! Nicolas Cage stars as Paul Matthews, an insecure walking ick of a man who, as you can guess, begins appearing in other people's dreams.
Anyway, the reason that you've been on my mind is because you keep popping up in my dreams.
First as a passive bystander in the dreams of his students, but soon to strangers all over the world, causing him to go massively viral.
How does it feel to go viral?
Interestingly, they acknowledged the original This Man meme in-universe in the movie.
They were relating Paul to like this old internet meme.
So I do have to wonder if this actually counts as a direct adaptation of the meme. But like, this was one of the posters for the movie, and just look at his hair. I'm counting it. Eventually, Paul starts becoming a more active part of people's dreams, becoming the villain in their nightmares, and even the subject of one character's sex dream, leading to what is arguably one of the most intentionally uncomfortable sex scenes ever committed to film.
Did you just come?
He premature ejaculates and then farts. Cinema. Paul becomes something of a milkshake duck as the public's infatuation with him quickly shifts to outrage, and then the movie begins to explore cancel culture and the cost of virality with surprising competency and an understanding of the internet ecosystem rarely shown in film. With Paul's life now functionally ruined and the phenomena that caused him to appear in people's dreams now corporately harnessed, we end on a world infested with dreamfluencers, which at this point sounds like a man-made horror within my comprehension and a hell of our own making that we may just deserve. Don't forget to use code TomSka friends at checkout though. Dream Scenario is a good movie, albeit bleak as hell, that explores and expands upon its memey source material, and I'm glad it exists. 8 out of 10 movie, 7 out of 10 incorporation, another one for the A tier. Way to go, buddy. Now you might be wondering, how did Japan, who love This Man so much, react to this movie? They found it mid. But you can now get a Nicolas Cage body pillow, so that's good. I think.
Hey, have you heard of the Island Trains kid? He's pretty cool, but there might be something wrong with him.
In 2004, a post popped up on Japan's 2chan message board. Oh yeah, we're back in Japan. From a user claiming to have courageously intervened on behalf of a young woman being harassed on the train. Trains? I like those! The poster identified himself as your typical otaku, a young man who rarely goes out, has very little social life or skills, and spends most of his time in front of a computer screen. Deeply unrelatable, as I'm sure most of you can agree. He shared that while riding the train home from work, a drunken passenger was harassing some women, and with the force of 7 sickly kittens, our anonymous poster intervened just long enough for the train guard to arrive and subdue the troublemaker, after which one of the women on the train asked him for his address so that she could send him a gift of gratitude. The thread became very popular on the board, especially since our hero, now nicknamed Densha Otoko, or Train Man, would regularly return to provide updates. The lady would send him a gift of expensive Hermes cups, earning her the nickname Hermes, and the people on the boards would guide and coach him through asking her on a date. The anonymous online community would walk Train Man through a personal makeover, what to do and say on a date, and generally wingman him through the early stages of his relationship with Hermes. That was until 2 months into the thread, after going into excruciating detail over touching Hermes' boobs for the first time, our hero would log off for the night and never be seen again. Now, if the original post had come out anywhere in the past decade, someone would have promptly replied, "Oh, and did everyone on the train clap too?" And then a screenshot of the whole interaction would have wound up on r/that happened. But it didn't come out in such a cynical era, so it became a nationwide phenomenon. Still, a 4 out of 10 meme for me. If I wanted to read the musings of a self-proclaimed nice guy, I'd just pick up my old diary. It's so embarrassing, and maybe one day I'll make a video on it. Now, naturally, because Japan simply cannot enjoy anything a normal, healthy amount, the story of Train Man would, within a year, be adapted into a novel, a TV show, 4 separate mangas, and, of course, a movie. Also, fun fact, the Train Man frenzy was so popular in Japan that when they released Napoleon Dynamite over there, it was renamed Busman. I guess they just love a sexless nerd on public transport.
Oh, God.
The movie begins with our protagonist, who we only ever know as Train Man, a socially awkward and isolated otaku who works, consumes, commutes, and computes. Look at him. He can't even handle giving a little girl something that she dropped on the train. What a nerd.
Standard nerds!
One day, he meekly draws the attention of a drunken man harassing a lady on the train, something that he promptly relays to the equally tragic netizens of 2chan, all of whom applaud his bravery. Much like in the original thread, Train Man receives some expensive Hermes cups from the lady, the name we come to know her by, and the other forum users guide him through making contact, planning a date, and getting a makeover, or looksmaxing, as the kids apparently call it now. I'm relevant. Their relationship progresses despite our protagonist being a mewling milksop, and yeah, it's actually really nice. I like that Train Man doesn't have a sudden, life-changing personality shift after simply cutting his hair and changing clothes. He just becomes a more confident and functional version of himself over time. It paints quite a realistic portrayal of self-growth. It's sweet. Throughout this movie, we also become familiar with a handful of anonymous 2chan users who reevaluate and take positive steps in their own life in tandem with Train Man. It's actually a really sweet and effective way of taking what would have otherwise been just text on a screen and making it more engaging and personable. The movie also constantly acknowledges Komoji, the Japanese style of text-based emoticons, which I just think is neat and unashamedly leans into the source material. When Train Man inevitably dares to give up hope on love, the now bettered people of 2chan encourage and rally him, and he does the whole go to her thing as he dramatically runs across Tokyo to confess his love in a character-affirmingly pathetic way. Before, they share a character-affirmingly pathetic kiss. He tells her he thought he would never escape the confines of his awkwardness and feared he would spend his life doomed to live as a lonely loser, but no. They live happily ever after, and the people of 2chan that we've come to know and love also follow suit, logging off and getting their lives together. And the movie ends with Densha Otoko and Hermes riding the train on which they first met. And then he wakes up. Are you fucking kidding me? All that growth, all that love, all that overcome fear over a lifetime of loneliness didn't happen. Because of course it didn't happen. And I cannot believe that the movie takes the unashamed stance that, yeah, dude, the real Train Man made that shit up. Incredible. I truly can't decide if I love or hate that they did this, but given how much it stuck with me, I can't deny that it made me feel something. While watching this movie, I found myself thinking, yeah, this is working in the source material really, really well. The only thing they could do even better would be to acknowledge that he made that shit up, and then they did. That's fucking ballsy. 7 out of 10 movie, 9 out of 10 incorporation, A tier. But if you thought this movie was done being weird as hell, you would be wrong, because it also features an honest-to-God multiversal post-credit scene, wherein we have a retelling of the night on the train with the drunken guy, but with a different Train Man and a different Hermes, but the man that helps haul the drunk guy away is our original Train Man from the movie. Why? Because what you are now watching is the opening of the Train Man TV show that started airing the same week that the movie came out. Why is he there? What does this mean? Why are you like this, Japan?
You're my little walrus. Oh, with a great big smile. With a great big smile on your walrus face.
In June of 2013, Brighton-based poet and prankster Chris Parkinson posted a surprisingly convincing ad to Gumtree posing as a retiree, offering free lodgings in return for their lodger wearing a walrus costume for 2 hours a day. Why would they want this? Well, because they miss a walrus they used to know called Gregory. Obviously. The ad immediately went viral, and by the very next day it was the subject of a dozen news articles and had effectively become Twitter's main character of the day. And then everyone immediately forgot about it. A real 4 out of 10 flash in the pan kind of meme. 2 weeks later, however, episode 259 of the Smodcast podcast by filmmakers Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier would release, in which the two would effectively brainstorm what a horror movie based on Chris's Gumtree ad would even look like.
Anyone listening to this, copyright Kevin Scott, because this is a fucking horror movie.
And only 5 months later, the movie would conclude filming, with the body horror black comedy Tusk being released into cinemas the following year. The movie begins by introducing us to our protagonist, Wallace Brighton, which is a very subtle nod to the walrus in Brighton. He's a shock jockey podcaster, poking fun at people embarrassing themselves on the internet.
I'm gonna talk to this kid about everything. I wanna know what he masturbates to.
You know, guys love to say shit like, this should be a podcast, or this should be a movie, but only Kevin Smith has the balls to say this should be a movie during a podcast and then make a movie about a guy making a podcast. That's peak male performance right there. Wallace travels to Canada to interview a Star Wars kid-inspired viral star, although I'd argue he more closely resembles Philip the Mullet Samurai, but what do I know? Unfortunately for Wallace, however, by the time he gets there, his subject has already killed himself. You know how it is. Desperate to find a new loser to interview for his podcast, Wallace finds a handwritten note on the bulletin board above a urinal, which, if you know anything about pee and urinals, is a really gross place for a bulletin board. The note offers free lodgings in return for helping out an old sailor who promises he has many interesting stories to tell. Now, why this gets Wallace's attention, I don't really know. Why he would think it would be a good idea to drive 2 hours into the wilderness to interview an old retiree for his podcast about internet lolcows, I don't really know. Like, in the context of this movie, it would make infinitely more sense for him to go online and seek out a local weirdo in the area he's in and then come across the Walrus Gumtree ad. That seems like the kind of person that this podcaster would want to exploit, not drive through the night to interview what he believes just to be a rambling old man. Why is he doing this? Anyway, the old man turns out to be a serial killer who drugs him, mutilates his body, and sews him into a walrus suit made of the human skin of his previous victims. Also, Epic Mealtime is there.
You don't say Hitler in an airport.
That's the guy from Smosh the movie. Cut to our B-plot, Wallace's girlfriend and his co-host, who also travel up to Canada to try and find him by yelling his name out of a car window. This is after, for some reason, the old man lets Wallace make multiple distress calls. Just watches him do it. Like earlier in the movie, he tells him his phone is broken, but then just lets him find it and use it for, like, fun, I guess? Honestly, it's all just giving first draft. Shit just happens in this movie to simply set up the next scene.
It took shape. The script was done in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it fucking shows. And then Johnny Depp shows up to play a kooky detective on the hunt for the serial killer, and he is a lot.
It is one fuck of a bummer to look at, I can tell you that.
This scene is 14 minutes long, by the way. Johnny Depp improvised most of his lines for this movie. Yeah, it fucking shows.
What was I saying?
But we do learn of one of the serial killer's other victims, Gregory Gumtree.
Gregory Gumtree.
Gregory being the name of the walrus, and Gumtree being the website the ad was on. So,
Gregory Gumtree.
Point for incorporation there, I guess.
Gregory Gumtree.
So anyway, Wallace goes full walrus and fights the old man, who now also has his own walrus costume. Wallace kills him, and his friends arrive just in time to see that he is no longer human. So naturally, they put him in a petting zoo, and a year later they check on him, and somehow the suit hasn't gone septic. Sure, fuck it, why not? You know, they're having fun. It's not that deep. As you can tell, I didn't really like this movie. It had the energy of a student film that was made in 48 hours. 3 out of 10. As for the incorporation, there were some clunky name drops, and it did explore the concept in kind of an interesting way, so 4 out of 10, D tier.
My dead wife sits in a chair, combing her hair.
In mid-2010, a Japanese man... Oh, you thought we were done with Japan? We are not. A Japanese man going by the name Kei Kujunski, real name Yuki Matuda, posted a question on Yahoo Answers about his wife's peculiar behavior, stating, "When I get home, my wife always pretends to be dead. In the post, he recounted how he regularly comes home from work to find his wife lifelessly performing increasingly elaborate death scenarios. Bloodied on the floor, an arrow through her head, a military execution. Despite his wife sounding fucking awesome, Matuda didn't know what to make of it, and instead of just asking his wife what her deathly dioramas were about, he took to making this post. 10 out of 10 communication skills.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir. I see.
The post would grab the attention of Japanese netizens at large, and much like everything that goes viral in Japan, the adaptations quickly rolled in. Within a fortnight, Hatsune Miku had chimed in. And, of course, within a year, it had been adapted into a manga, not just the original post, but Matsuda's follow-up post detailing his wife's eccentricities, such as her pretending to be Michael Jackson. Hee. It was also around this time that the post blew up in China and Taiwan, inspiring animations and prompting a planking-esque trend, wives pretending to be dead. Ultimately, I give this meme as a whole 5 out of 10. It's fine. In 2018, the whole thing would finally be adapted into a movie, and even the studio behind it would join in on the trend of pretending to be dead. Who is that? Why is he there?
Ah! Go, everybody! You're a son of a bitch! You're big and blue!
The film follows married couple Jun and Che being the real name of Matuda's wife, as they approach their 3rd anniversary. Jun's first marriage collapsed around the point of their 3rd anniversary, so he's feeling pensive, something that is not helped by coming home to find his wife, you know, pretending to be dead. But don't worry, she's fine. And then they lead into the instrumental version of that Hatsune Miku song from earlier. Hey, that's fun. The movie pulls inspiration from both the original post, the manga series, and also the Vocaloid song, whilst adding in a healthy amount of original material, most of which came as a surprise to Matuda, who never even had a first wife, and wasn't really planning on leaving the second one. The movie is mostly an exploration of marriage, with every scene, character, and conversation serving to explore some facet of married life or its outcomes, be it divorce, perseverance, or death through tragedy and old age. Ultimately, we learn that Che's performances are her weird little way of letting her husband know that she loves him. Again, 10 out of 10 communication, guys. Maybe just try having a single conversation next time. Also, at the end of the movie, Jun says that he's figured out why she does it, only for his explanation to be cut off by a loud gust of wind. Maybe get another take, guys? CinemaSins, ding, I am very smart. I'd give this movie a 5 out of 10. It's sweet, but easily 30 minutes longer than it needs to be. Even watching it at 1.5 speed, it managed to drag. The movie deviates from the source material by having the husband be far more involved. In the original post, as I said, he just ignores her. He steps over her and just goes about his day. It's kind of brutal, but they do work in a lot of the best bits from the post, so I'll give the incorporation 7 out of 10. B tier. Also, when the movie came out, Matuda implied that he'd made the whole thing up anyway, and then refused to elaborate. Classic.
I'm Zola! La 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 la, I'm Zola!
In 2015, 19-year-old Asia Zola King would take to Twitter to post a 148-tweet-long thread detailing a nightmarish weekend full of sex, sex work, sex trafficking, murder, and an attempted suicide. Sounds like an average weekend for me. The basic story goes like this. Zola meets Jessica. Jessica invites Zola to Florida for a weekend of stripping for high-paying customers. Jessica, her boyfriend Jarrett, and her roommate Z, and Zola all pile into a car and drive up to Florida, where it immediately becomes apparent that Z is actually Jessica's pimp, and this whole thing has been about coercing Zola into prostituting alongside Jessica. Zola avoids further sex work by quintupling Jessica's revenue. Jarrett gets next-level cuckolded and attempts to throw himself out of a window in response. Jessica gets kidnapped by a rival pimp. Z promptly murders that rival pimp and then gets arrested for sex trafficking and more. A standard weekend in Florida, I believe. Zola and her story quickly became Twitter's main character of the day, with her stranger-than-fiction life drawing the attention of celebrities and spawning a plethora of memery under the hashtag Zola and the story. I'm a little on the fence as to whether or not I would count this as a meme per se, but I also wasn't planning on making this a multi-part series, so might as well be thorough since I'm here. Now, important question, was the story actually true? And the answer is, kinda. This was actually the third time Zola had attempted to tell this story on Twitter, and the first two gained little traction, so they were promptly deleted. So, she embellished a little. And by a little, I mean a lot. What's interesting is that the real story is wild, but she just needed a little more drama to really drum up that yummy social media buzz. The following month, a Rolling Stone article was published, giving a lot of people mentioned in the thread the opportunity to share their side of the story. Whether or not they told the truth is thoroughly up for debate. Everyone, of course, except the pimp, who is in jail for sex trafficking, among other terrible things. But nobody got murdered, and no one attempted to throw themselves out of a window. Shucks. As a meme, I'd give Zola a 3 out of 10. It just missed me at the time. I guess I was busy that day, but getting to it now, it is a compelling read and an interesting cultural time capsule. And in 2020, we would get a feature-length adaptation of the thread, and also the Rolling Stone article with the movie Zola, or At Zola. They changed a few names, but other than that, they stuck pretty faithfully to the source material. But much like Zola herself, they do up the ante a little bit. And by a little bit, I do mean a lot. They definitely stick closer to the Twitter threads version of events than the more credible but less salacious article.
Like, why you on my Twitter? Why you on my Facebook? Why you on my Tumblr? Why you DMing me?
Zola meets Stephanie. Stephanie invites Zola to Florida for a weekend of stripping for high-paying customers. Stephanie, her boyfriend Derek, and her roommate X all pile into a car and drive to Florida, where it immediately becomes apparent that X is actually Stephanie's pimp, and this whole thing has been about coercing Zola into prostituting alongside Stephanie. Zola avoids further sex work by quintupling Stephanie's revenue. Derek gets next-level cuckolded and successfully throws himself out of a window. Stephanie gets kidnapped by a rival pimp, and X promptly murders that pimp before they all drive home happily ever after. Now, I don't have a piss kink. God, that makes it sound like I have a piss kink, doesn't it? I don't. But one of my favorite parts of the movie is early in the film when we learn everything we need to know about the characters by how they pee. I don't know, I just thought that was an interesting bit of filmmaking. Zola hovers over the toilet seat, wipes, flushes, and her pee is clear, telling us that she's clean, considerate, and conscious of her health, whereas Stephanie sits directly on the toilet, neither flushes nor wipes, and her pee is dark, telling us that she's dirty, inconsiderate, and reckless. And I just think that's a really interesting bit of visual storytelling with piss. None of this is helping my case, is it? Another cool piss-free detail is whenever something directly from the Twitter thread is said or happens, we hear a little Twitter notification sound.
I wish I had titties like that. They look just like little apples. Thank you.
That's kind of neat. I miss Twitter. Ultimately, it's a solid movie, and there's just not that much to point and laugh at, so let's move on. 6 out of 10 movie, 7 out of 10 for the incorporation, B tier. Next! In 2016, Dutch artist Margriet van Brevoort, which I'm probably pronouncing horrendously wrong, but I couldn't find a single video of someone saying her name out loud, so sorry about that, unveiled her latest sculpture, Homunculus Loxodontist, at the Children's Hospital in Leiden. Sorry, Timmy, the chemo isn't working, but don't worry, he's here. So it's fine. Stop crying. First discovered by Russian internet users and nicknamed Zhdun, meaning to wait, the statue would also be nicknamed Snorp on Tumblr and Wash on Reddit. 7 out of 10 meme, I like him a lot. But while the world at large would get a fleeting kick out of him, his relevance would linger a little longer in Eastern Europe. And in 2025, the Russians struck while the iron was ice cold and made a Zhdun movie for the whole family. Getting a hold of this film was not easy, and I'm not sure the subtitles were entirely accurate, but hey, country girls make do. Truly touching dialogue. I was hoping to get a copy of the English dub, which apparently exists and was made by the same people that did this.
Father, when can I leave to be on my own? I've got the whole world to see.
But like everyone else, they ignored my email, and I had to make do with what I had. Again, I'm not sure they're reliable. I really hope that was just mistranslated, but who can say? The film tells the story of a family who are struggling to connect with one another when all of a sudden a spaceship crashes near their home, and young Nikita rushes out to find, you guessed it, Zhdun waiting there. Alright, that was kind of funny. He's traveled to Earth in search of a delicious, mysterious substance which we will eventually learn is just salt. He craves that mineral, you see, and his priorities in life are eating and waiting, earning him the nickname Zhdun, the one who waits. And yes, I'm aware I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm not Russian. Is it Zhdun? 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 I don't have that letter in my mouth. For the first hour of this 90-minute movie, we are stuck in a loop of a family member attempting to hide Zhdun from the rest of the family, someone discovering him anyway, them immediately being completely fine with him, and then them joining in on trying to hide him from the rest of the family. It is wild how much of this movie we spend doing this bit, given that no one ever gives a shit. Ever. Even the general public are fine with his presence. He's just that much of a chill dude, I guess. His vibes are trustworthy and immaculate. And yeah, I would trust him. Now, given that this is a movie about an alien being kept secret, you'd think the antagonist of this movie would be someone that, you know, wants that alien. But no, it's just an Elon Musk stand-in who wants to steal Zhdun's spaceship to power his flying taxis. Anyway, they help Zhdun fix his ship while he helps fix their relationships, and he flies off at the end of the movie, promising to return for a sequel. As a movie, it's fine. The plot is uninspiring, but harmless. At least it looks kind of pretty. 4 out of 10. As for meme incorporation, I'd give it a 7 out of 10 because, yeah, he's there. I just wish he didn't talk, or dance, or make this sound when he moves. C tier. Oh my god. I want him. No. I must resist. But I want him. No, be strong, Thomas. It's so close to Christmas. No! Now, if you're uncomfortable with me discussing a Russian-made movie given their ongoing conflict with most of us, I'll just say this. Just watch Jules. It's basically the exact same setup, but a much better movie. In fact, the only way I think they could improve that movie is if Zhdun was in it.
You remember the spaceship that crashed in my yard?
27 meme movies and counting. I have already written most of part 4 of this series because you just can't stop telling me about meme movies. And I hope you don't, because I want to be thorough. So if there are any more movies adapted from internet memes that you know of, even if they are niche and located to your country, please tell me about them. I will find them. I will review them. I will complete this list. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this perilous journey thus far. I shall see you for part 4, which I really hope is the last part, at least for now. I need to watch some other movies. I can feel my brain melting. TomSka out.
Hey you, thank you for the money. 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 Hey you, thank you for the money.
If you want to join our Patreon and get early access to our videos, our monthly podcast, and our Discord server, go to patreon.com/TomSka and friends. Or don't.